Hi, my name is Adnan Hasbi and welcome to another episode of the Rambling of an Analyst on the Funny Finance Guy. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the small dip or the dip for both AirAsia and AirAsia X. If we look at the prices of both of these stocks today, as at the 9th of September, at 4 o'clock, we will notice that both of these shares dip during this particular point in time. So let's, I guess, address why I think this dip happened. And we're going to do a quick recap and then we're just going to conclude. Basically, one of the reasons why there was a dip in both AirAsia and AirAsia X is that there was a spike in the number of COVID cases over here in Malaysia. And yesterday it was, I think, in the 60 region, and today it was over the 100 region. And I think that actually hit a high during the recovery period. And once it actually hit that, I guess, alarming rate, what happened was that typically what's going to happen is, number one, there's going to be lockdowns in certain areas. The second thing which is going to happen is when there is lockdowns in certain areas, travel is going to be restricted. And once traveling is restricted, as we know, the airline industry will also be impacted. And once the airlines industry are impacted, their revenues will drop. And that is one of the reasons why there was, I guess, a small sell down for both of these stocks. So to recap, on this particular channel, I talked about AirAsia and AirAsia X back in May 26th of this year. And that was before AirAsia and AirAsia X hit the $1 high. And at that point in time, AirAsia hit 1 ringgit. AirAsia X, I'm not sure at what price they hit. But at that point in time, I remember issuing or telling you guys to be relatively careful. One of the reasons why I expect the stock price to be very volatile. Okay, and at that point in time, I remembered, once once, especially for AirAsia, once it reached $1, I was thinking to myself whether it had any legs to even go even higher. But what data which came out, and I moved based on the data given to me. And at that point in time, I knew that, number one, AirAsia had a very high fixed cost, whereby they had to lease their airplanes. And number two, the cases for COVID has not been eradicated. And they have not found a cure yet. And that is one of the reasons why I was relatively cautious on that stock. Subsequently, what happened was, number one, the management of AirAsia said that they're going to raise capital. And after the management said they're going to raise capital, the stock price after the stock price went down from $1, it dropped. And the management said they're going to raise more capital, and it spiked up a little bit. And at that point in time, I still remembered many people asking me as to whether one should buy or take position on that stock. And I always maintain the same position as before. The stock is going to be very volatile, and I always said this I guess keyword or this term, buyers beware. If you enter that particular stock, know that there's going to be up and down, and it's going to be relatively significant. So once the management said they're going to raise capital, I still remembered some people asking me whether I was bullish on that stock. And at that point in time, I was still, I would say that no, I still maintain my call of just be careful. First thing. The second thing which happened was the quarterly results came out. And when the quarterly results came out, it was not the best quarterly results, and that increased my caution on that stock. The third thing which happened was we started seeing the COVID cases increase to double digits after the government managed to bring down the COVID cases near to a zero, and it actually started spiking a little bit. And during those small little spikes, I still remembered, I said, this will be a test bed. Every time when there is a sudden spike in COVID cases, there is a negative or an invert relationship. As the numbers were to come up, the stock price for transport companies, especially for AirAsia and AirAsia X, will have an inverse relationship. And I mentioned that, I think, a couple of months back. Today, what happened was when the numbers shot up for the cases over, I think, in Sabah, the stock price took a tumble. And I already told you guys one of the reasons why is that that may impact their revenues. Okay? So right now, after looking at these numbers, after looking at the stock price, what is my thought on this stock? Basically is this. If we want to invest in this stock, I'm just going to again say, just be very, very cautious. The reason being, number one, in Sabah right now, there's a spike. And in a couple of weeks, there's going to be another major event. And that major event will allow a lot of people to intermingle with one another. Any guesses? That will be the by-election. When the by-election comes, there's going to be campaigning. And when people go out to vote, there's going to be a lot of intermingling. And I am very, very cautious once that by-election were to come in place. And once that comes in place, I don't know whether the number of cases would shoot up again. So that is a very big warning sign. The second big warning is that with the moratorium ending, right, and with the COVID cases not being under control, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting for the economy at large, and especially for the travel industry. And the reason being is this. Every time when someone were to travel, they need to have some disposable income. And if people are afraid of the economy and what may happen, chances are people are going to cut down on luxury spending. And amongst the luxury spending would be traveling. So the first thing that we will cut off from our expenses is traveling expenses, right? And that again would be the airline stocks. So in the coming months ahead, we have to look at, number one, Sabah by-election. What's going to happen with the number of COVID cases? Is it going to spike up? Number two, we're going to look at the economy at large as to whether with more and more people being cautious and with the moratorium ending, whether we're going to travel again. I would probably say not so much. And the third thing I want to say is that as we know, politically in, I guess, Malaysia as a whole, not relatively stable. And many people are going to say, they're not sure when the next election is going to come. Some are saying the end of this year, some are going to say 3 years from now. We are not sure. So there is so much of uncertainty in the market. And like I always said, and if you guys want to invest in the stock, I want to tell you guys again and again and again, please be very careful, right? The COVID numbers does not seem to be dissipating, first thing. And when I'm going around KL also, on a more personal note, when I go around KL, I notice a couple of things. I notice in certain areas, like when you go to high-end malls or high-end shops like Jaya Supermarket and whatnot, they literally disinfect your hands and make sure that you are really nice, covered, all bubbled up. But if you go to other like smaller kedai runcit or smaller sundry shops, you will notice there is basically no SOP whatsoever. And that really scares me, that we have a relatively tidak apa attitude. I'm afraid if we continue living like this, I don't know whether there's going to be another outbreak. Okay, so if you're not invested, good on you. I would like to thank you for listening to my small little advice. If you are invested and you're looking towards, I guess, buying more stocks as the stock price were to go down, just beware. But me, on a more personal note, in my previous few episodes, I found like a roti canai seller, which made about 300% in the past couple of months. And we saw even the bottled water guys, which made, I think, about 5% in a 5-day period. There is just so many stocks, so many other stocks out there that we can explore. Why focus on AirAsia, where we can focus on other things? I know there's this basic understanding that we should buy low and sell high, right? But with this whole COVID case happening, there is so much uncertainty. We don't know when it's going to be healed, when we're going to find a vaccine. By the time we know all of this, it may take months or it may take years. And AirAsia has only I think they only have a couple of months to survive after they take the loan from the open market. My question for all of us right now, are we wanting to take that risk? Do you want to take that risk and put your money in a stock as such? Don't get me wrong, I love the company. I take AirAsia almost everywhere, and I love that they have services all around the ASEAN region. I love their services. But with this particular case right now, with this lockdown, it's not the fault of the company. It's just the change of the whole environment. With that, guys, I would like to thank you guys so very much for the 2 thumbs up. This is the first 2 thumbs up which I got from a live session. I'd like to thank you guys being on the live audience, and I'd like to thank future guys watching this particular episode. I apologize if I'm not so polished this time around, and I apologize for going on live and just exiting. I guess the nerves got the better of me. Okay, so if there's any questions, please do ask. And you know that I am a resource. Please do bounce ideas. The more ideas we have, the more ideas we can actually invest on, and we can refine those ideas. If you have any ideas, any questions, do ask. And we as a family can start making more money during this crisis. Okay, with that, take care, guys.